When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Good morning, it's Sam with Red Rhino. Just wanted to give you a heads up that we're headed towards the Holiday Inn to do the leak detection on that spa. I'm sure you've been having issues there, so we're gonna test through everything today, figure out what's going on, then give you a heads up once we finish up, let you know what we found and the plan to get it repaired. So if you have any questions, feel free to call me back at any point or text me. Other than that, I hope you have a great day. I'm Sam. I've been with Red Rhino since 2016. A little over 8 years now. Was moving back down to Florida. Was just getting married. I was looking for a different job, and I was actually born in Canada. I lived there till I was 12. Went to school in French until that age too. I don't like the cold, that's why I'm still here. So I'm more Floridian than Canadian. There's hardly a day that goes by that I don't have like a call or multiple calls with my coworkers. You know, chat with each other if we run into issues or we need help with something, or sometimes we just want to chat and see how we're doing if we haven't talked to each other in a couple days. Sure, we have our meetings a couple times a week.
I'm gonna get something.
But even though we're by ourselves, we're always helping each other out, especially with the new guys. I'll even go out of my way to try and call and check in with them. I'll check, and I know other guys do too, check each other's schedules and see where everybody is, and if anybody has a really heavy day, and see if we can either stop by one of their jobs to help them out or take something easy off their schedule. I know that I try to do what I can, even if I have busy days, so I know the other guys do the same.
Well, guys, what can I say about Sam? Sam is French-Canadian. He loves to bring chocolate to the shop, but on top of that, he truly cares about people. He ultimately serves in a number of different ways for the team, but then also takes care of customers, even if it means spending an extra 45 minutes talking about whatever they care about. Sam cares about people.
I really enjoy being able to go and help people with their issues. Can't tell you how many times people have said, I've been having nightmares about my house falling into a sinkhole. I like being able to first reassure them that, hey, we do this all the time. We do tens of thousands of pulls a year, and we're gonna be able to figure out what's going on here and have a game plan going forward. And then kind of seeing their relief, and also throughout the process, just being able to take care of them.
All right, so we got a commercial job here, right, Sam?
Yes, we do. Yeah, I have no idea if they have a pool or not. Yes, Sam with Red Rhino. Just wanted to give you a shout. Okay, do you have a second to meet us here by any chance? Awesome. All right, thanks. I appreciate it. See you soon.
25, 30 inches of water a day.
A day?
Yeah.
So every league specialist needs one of these. They come standard with your vans, apparently. I had to buy my own this morning. I don't know what happened to mine, but they're supposed to show up in your van every morning. Anyway, it helps you get going in the day, finish your jobs a lot faster. You're gonna notice as the day goes, I'm gonna start talking faster because of this. I don't know what happens, but that's what happens. See what we find. Yeah, that's why he calls it the pit.
A pit where men are thrown to suffer and die.
Yo, have you ever seen something like this before?
Yeah, I've seen some even way deeper.
Really?
Than that, yeah. Looks like it'll be okay to get in there. We just gotta do it carefully. So when we take a equipment picture, we wanna get a picture with all the valves in there if possible. We're gonna be back and forth with tools and everything. We'll probably be here for a good 2-3 hours at least. Is all the pool equipment, the pump and everything, is that all right there?
Yeah, it's in that pit there.
A pit.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. Feel free to swing by anytime if you have any questions.
Man.
I'm sure this will be good for
good
my
content.
unemployment, right? Yeah. Whoa, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna stay on the cinder block here. There's some water at the bottom here. Yeah. Looks like this pipe here is leaking. I don't know if you can see it very well. So it sounds like, based on what he's been noticing, that there's probably something plumbing related. You can see it trickling down and it's filling the room, or the pit,
A pit.
Yep.
as they call it. He's noticing a big difference when the pump is running versus off. So sometimes when you shut them off, it can flood the area if they have a surge tank. In this case, I don't actually see a surge tank, so I think it's just plumbed directly into the pump. He says it'll drop to a certain point with the pump off, but when it's kicked on, it'll just keep dropping until it's practically empty.
What's the unique challenge of this job, would you say?
I'd say access to the equipment, especially since even the valves here are ball valves, and they're not like Jandy or Pentair, where we can unscrew them and take them apart.
The Bullsington and Alpha Delta at home.
So if these are bad or old, which it looks like they might be, it's harder to isolate the different groups of pipes. And at this point, what I'm gonna do is I have to get the tools. If I can, I'm gonna try to isolate all the pipes. So even before I'm actually testing, I'm figuring out what I'm gonna need to do a few steps ahead.
A lot of expertise required for this job.
Or just, pretending, if none of the valves are good and we can't bypass this break here, we're gonna have to let the customers know and notate properly the issues we have here. I feel like Chris Cuomo coming out of his basement during COVID. Now we're gonna go get the tools and bring them over and get started. So basically what we just did is we got a good overview of the spa and the equipment, and we know which tools we're gonna need to bring over. That way we're not making unnecessary trips later. We're probably gonna have to make more than one trip because of the amount of tools. Depending on if we run into a broken pipe or something, we're gonna have to get some more.
All right.
Since I have you here to bring my backpack, that'll make my load a little lighter. Now, when you have a commercial job, I have more tools than usual today. That's why everything gets a little more smushed in here, but that's okay. If you have your van organized in a way, you know exactly where to move things to be able to get them out. I've got the weight here, and I've got my knee pad. So again, just one trip for that. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna shut the pump off, and we're gonna get started testing. Red switch, we're gonna try. Let's see. Often with these commercial pools, there is just one switch. They don't have a timer because it's just on 24/7. So it might just be a breaker or one of these switches at times. So it's not here. We're gonna just keep looking. Looks like it's in this rusted box.
Oh, what's in the box?
That's tetanus right there.
Shit. Oh,
Look at
God.
that beautiful rust. The whole bottom, it's hard to see, but it's all rusted there.
You mentioned earlier there's always a unique problem-solving challenge with each setup that you come to.
Yep, exactly. And in this case, if you have something that's an issue that, they basically never turn the pump off, then something may be kind of rusted shut. And all you have to do is use some tools. Try to get that open carefully and not hurt yourself. Guess I'm going back in. Now, if there's ever an issue where you don't know where a pipe is or where something connects, the easiest way to do is just follow the pipe from one direction or the other. Pretty basic thing to do.
Yep.
So it looks like it's here. I actually would like to find a switch, but I didn't find one in here. There we go. So I want to make sure I know how all the equipment works, where all the switches are, all the valves are, and you always want to check the pumps running and off and see if anything out of the ordinary comes out based on that. Oh, that's a big leak right there. See?
Yeah, I can see that down there.
Well, we already found 2 leaks. That's
pretty
a good
incredible.
start.
2 leaks, right off
we
the
can go
bat.
home, right?
Yeah.
Now we can get to testing. Usually the first thing you start dye testing is in any pool or spa, it is the skimmer. You don't want there to be too much movement in the pool. And you want the valve shut so that you can check it. Having your tools in places that are easier to reach, you put them back at the same place, makes it a lot easier and faster. You know if you've lost a tool or forgotten a tool. Look right here. If you haven't put it back in the same place, you'll know right away. For the most part, this job is pretty peaceful, pretty quiet. It's kind of nice to be able to just focus on your job at your pace. You can even listen to music or listen to a podcast or something while you're working, which sometimes I do. You can enjoy listening to whatever you want to. All right, back in the pit.
A pit.
Almost ripped my shorts on that. At this point, because of all the equipment issues, I just want to shut everything. That'll make it a lot easier to compartmentalize the areas that we want to test and possibly not have to make additional trips later. I know we want to be able to pressure test, but sometimes with these equipment issues, it's impossible. So we should be able to still get a proper test, but notate everything properly out of the pit.
A pit.
Always be mindful of other customers, partners, coworkers. You want to check periodically your phone and see if you missed anything.
Yep.
Try to keep it on loud. I think when I was in the pit,
A pit.
someone did try calling, so I'm gonna check that voicemail. Someone from Miami. Let's see. All right. Yep, just a customer who has a couple questions. He wasn't there when I did the initial leak detection, and he wasn't able to answer the phone. So now he's calling back. He must have received the report and is ready to talk about it. I'm gonna find a spot in the shade. It's pretty important to look this over now. I try to just refresh my memory by just real quickly looking at all the notes. That way, when I call the customer, I remember everything. I kind of take it as a little excuse to go in the shade and take a sip of water and a little short break. Sometimes it can get a little overwhelming. Sometimes you get multiple emails and calls, and it interrupts your job, your flow. And so you just have to be prepared for that. Most jobs, most days aren't like that, but there are times where that's happening, and then you're constantly on your phone and all that. So that is something to be aware of, part of the job, and be ready. But that's why it's also important to try and answer those phone calls and emails as quickly as possible so they don't build up and pile up, and then all of a sudden, you have 5, 6, 7 calls and emails to answer. Yeah. They send it to me, and I'll check it here in a minute. These commercial drain covers can be fun to take off sometimes. They can be stuck in there pretty good, especially if they haven't been removed in years and years. Now we can actually see inside and see if we brought the right tools. It's the right size plug, but there's a ton of debris in there, like sand and stuff, which will make it difficult to plug off. We can open the other one and see if we can plug that one off instead. Instead of trying to remove all that debris, which will be impossible and it'll just cloud up the spa, I'm gonna have to unscrew this one and take it off and see what's going on in there. I'm gonna check inside that drain. A lot of bubbles and a lot of thrashing, and then no movement, then then pull me out.
You're in and out of pools a lot, right?
Yeah.
And is that challenging or no?
You just gotta make sure that you stay hydrated, make sure you take care of yourself, you wear sunscreen, you hose yourself off. Oh yeah. Especially if a pool is more heavily chlorinated, you're always in the elements. You wanna make sure that you're okay. Kind of enjoy being able to be outside and do that. It's very unique, but like anything, you need to make sure that you take care of yourself. Now, if you're really thirsty, you run out of water, the best thing to do, fill her up. Have to do a little dye testing. One really important part of being a leak specialist is being flexible. Because every job is different and you run into different challenges, different issues, sometimes you have to do things in different orders, or you can't even test them the way we normally would. I like doing things in a certain order and doing things the same way if possible, but you have to be creative in your thinking and be able to work around issues, even issues that you never run into before. The longer you've done it, the more easily you can figure that out. If there's something you're not sure about, just call one of the guys that you know has been doing this for a long time and can give you some knowledge, some of their experience, and help you with that. Still have a handful of things to check.
You guys find all the best stuff.
Yeah.
All right, have at it.
All right, thanks. Well, sometimes if customers are a little stressed, a little unsure about what's going on, and they seem to be the type of customer, again, you got to read your customer, but they seem like the type of customer who can handle it. I have little cheesy jokes that I use. One that I use pretty often is if customers say, hey, how bad is it? One thing I like to say is, well, I've got a couple truckloads of dirt on their way. We're about to fill in your pool. We'll plant some tomatoes for you. You'll have a great garden. And that pretty much always gets a chuckle out of them and gets them to relax a little bit. Yeah, I've got to go back in for those. that jet pipe that we saw at the pump that was leaking so quickly with the valves shut, and I've retested those pipes. They're not leaking at all. So that confirms to me there's no break in those lines unless there's anything out of the ordinary underground, but we should be good because the spa is raised, which is causing pressure over the pipe over there. That's why it kept leaking, trickling a little bit with the pump off, but just spraying really hard with it running. But that pressure is continual, so it's always leaking. It's detective work. Oh, there it is. Last time I'm doing that.
Sam, how long do you think you can hold your breath for?
I've had customers time me before. I usually try not to think about it so I can stay down longer.
Yeah.
I had a customer time me, and I know it was around 2.5 minutes or so.
So, Sam, what's the gray hat stand for?
This is the hat you get when you've reached the expert level. There are 3 levels after being a trainee. There's specialist, pro, and expert. Looks like we're gonna be good. It looks like it's just basically passing, going south. So we should be all right. But right now, I'm doing the final check of the equipment. I'm checking the pictures I took at the beginning, the valves, so I can make sure I readjust them exactly how they were. Time to get out of the pit.
A pit.
So we arrived to the spa, found a couple equipment issues, and were able to solve it just by troubleshooting, closing the valves, using different methods, and looks like we were successful. Good, good. You have a second to come around back? We're wrapping it up. So what I'm gonna wanna do is show the customer exactly where the leaks are. If I were quoting a repair, I would present that to them at this point. In this case, it's equipment leaks and a couple grout lines, so we're not really able to quote anything. But we're gonna send this back to the partner who should be able to take care of them. The good news is it's something that I was able to patch up for you today. You see the little grout lines there? They're a little whiter and a little wider. There were 3 of them that I could see that were leaking. So even if you were to plug every single pipe here, at some point it may need to be repatched. Just be aware of that. Or at that point, what we may want to do is the back there. It's that one over there. That pipe, I saw a leak too. So here, I'll zoom in again. So you see this pipe here? Place it instead of cutting it all out next time.
Right. I gotta cut that anyway.
Cut it out anyway, so you might as well, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, that one's half the battle.
Well, I'm glad that you found the leak. That's the important
And the
part.
grout lines there are
That's-
sealed
yeah.
up. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted you guys to know exactly.
Appreciate that information.
Of course, yeah.
That's good.
Yep. Best way to end a job is to run into a waterfall. So one of the tougher jobs I can think of, I had just been with Red Rhino for a couple months, I think. I show up there, and I had a second job on my schedule for the afternoon too. I show up, and without exaggerating, this pool is the length of 2 average yards. It's got a literal beach on one side with sand. It's got islands that you can walk to on bridges. It's got a swim up spa. It had 3 caretakers for the pop-ups. I can't even remember how many pop-ups. I think it was like 40 or something like that. And it had fountains, about 5 pumps, 3 heaters. Dozens of valves. I start, and then I think, oh, there's no way I can do all this, and especially just starting as a new leak specialist. So I called my manager, Eric, at the time. He showed up and helped me out some, thankfully, because I was super overwhelmed at the time. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I can't tell you how many lights were in the pool. And swimming around that pool, it was rough finding the leaks. There were random pinhole leaks across the bottom of the pool, pipe issues, airline leaks that were buried. That one was a tough one. Thankfully, the manager was there to help me out on that one. Otherwise, I could have been there for days. And believe it or not, we went back a few years later with like 3 of us, and we had a full day to do it, 3 guys, when originally it was scheduled just on me for a half day. So the office obviously didn't know what was there. Otherwise, I'm sure they wouldn't have scheduled me that short a time. So I can't blame them.
Yep.
So this is how a leak expert finishes out the day.